Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm joined by legendary manager Doc McGhee. He's going to give us an update on all things Kiss, as well as reminisce about some of the bands he managed back in the 80s and 90s. This is a great conversation, a lot of fun. Thank you, Doc, for joining me. I was really honored. Lots to cover here, so let's jump in and let's get started. Hey Doc, let me just start off by saying thank you for joining the show. It's a great honor to have you with me today. I want to start off just by talking about the Kiss Cruise that wrapped up a week ago today, right? First off, congratulations for your 10th cruise, another big success. But how was it for you managing this? Was it a lot harder to manage this cruise during a pandemic, or was it basically business as usual for you? What was it like for you?
Being on a boat and doing all that stuff. But something, it was probably the safest place in the world because everybody was double vaccinated. We had a thing called stairways that we were using to make sure that nobody got ill and nobody got sick, and it was great. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll admit I was on the cruise and I thought exactly like you said, it was probably the safest place on earth. I said it was probably more dangerous being at the supermarket where you don't know who's vaccinated or whatever. So I thought you guys did an amazing job making it safe for everybody.
Yeah, we tried, but thank you for saying that. That's very
Absolutely.
kind.
I think back to the first cruise you guys did, and you weren't the first rock band to do a cruise, right? But certainly you were in the early days. And when you first announced the cruise, I remember Kiss fans kind of making a little bit of jokes about it or whatever. But now here we are, 10 years, and you guys announced Kiss Cruise 11, right? And it's going strong every year. Did you foresee this being as big of a business as it has become for all bands now? Like so many bands do this, or do you think it was going to be a one and done type of thing?
No, I thought it was, it was moving into, listen, we all move into things that we don't know as the future, as technology changes and everything else. And so you see an opportunity of people getting together and being more, listen, I did in 1993, I did a cruise with Suzanne Summers at Home Shopping.
Oh, wow.
So when I was doing the home shopping thing, so
Mhm.
I kind of understood it from back then. And so when Six Band started doing it, and they were doing it, geez, almost 20 years ago.
Yep.
They started doing theirs with the Rock Cruise.
Yep.
And then Kid Rock did it, we did it. And it's just, to me, it's how you do it. I mean, everything is not, it's like my mother says, it's not what you say, it's how you say
it. My mother said the same thing.
Yeah, so with that said, we just wanted to give people, like we do with our shows, the best experience that you could have on the water. And when you do that, people will come and people will enjoy themselves.
Agreed. And I think that's why people keep coming back year after year. And this year, Paul had actually said on the cruise, if I heard him properly, there could be a day where there's Kiss cruises without Kiss. Is that something you guys are talking about?
Well, I mean, listen, you never know what's going to happen. So again, we didn't know 2 years ago that there was going to be NFTs. We didn't know that there was going to be that you're going to be able to do, all the different types of animation that you can do today.
Sure.
That that you can do avatars. Forget holograms and stuff like that. You're moving so fast, and the technology's turning over that, I mean, whoever thought that you wouldn't count on selling records?
That's
We
true.
don't know what that is anymore. People don't even know what that is.
Mhm.
Coldplay will sell 65,000 records around the world, and they'll sell 40 stadiums out.
Right. Yep.
So it's amazing how the technology dictates what we do. But I think if you stay ahead of it and you're not a doubter, if you like to go and go to new frontiers,
Yep.
there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. And, that's, I think, one of the things that you've been very successful with KISS. I mentioned the cruises and how, you were in the early stages of that. The meet and greets before concerts, you were in the forefront of that. And again, it was one of the things that people at first laughed about, and now every band does it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what happened this year on the cruise with Sebastian Bach? I'm curious about that.
Sebastian, to be honest with you, he couldn't get on the boat. He lost both passports. He lost his Canadian passport and his American passport.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't let him on the boat. And I couldn't get customs to allow him to go, because even though he was going to be sequestered to the ship,
sure,
I tried everything. He'll stay on the boat. He won't get off till he gets back. And they went,
wow. So, and he was actually at the dock that morning. Did I hear that right?
He was sitting there.
Wow.
He was sitting there trying to go. And, hey, listen, it's terrible but when you got 6 months, you've known about this cruise for 6 months.
So true.
And you haven't been traveling.
Right.
You would think you'd say, hey, why don't I look and make sure I have my vaccination cards, make sure I have my passport, make sure I have my socks. Right. Yeah, but I guess Sebastian just forgot about those.
Well, out of something bad came something good, because those all-star jams on the cruise, so many cruises were talking about what an amazing experience those was. So we're actually hoping that that continues on future cruises.
Well, to be honest with you, that's something that you never planned on, right? But now we're going to do a jam every day with all different people to jam and do a couple songs of theirs, other people's songs. Just have a great time. And we're going to do that like 3 times on the cruise.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Now, I don't know if you're in the room when KISS decides this, right? But so many cruises love all of the deep cuts when they do that. And the first night of the show, they did a lot. And we know that She's So European was a little bit rough, right? And I understand them not doing it the second night. Why didn't they do you know why they didn't do All Night and We All Won, which got a huge response night 1? Why didn't they do those night 2?
Yeah, well, they wanted to do something different on 2 nights.
Okay.
So they just mixed it up a little bit. But listen, I didn't know any of those songs. But
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I started in '96, so
gotcha. Yeah.
'95, so I didn't really know those songs. But and what was interesting about those songs was, because I didn't have any preconceived notion of where they were from and what's year or time or whatever, by listening to the way that they played them, the chord progressions, lyrics, everything else, I could place them in the time period that they recorded them in. Oh, wow. Based on what was going on in those years, right? So you could see that it was revenge, and it was that, what I mean?
Right, sure.
It didn't sound like KISS songs.
Right. Well, there's no denying what era All Night comes from.
You're right, of course.
Right. Now, while we were just getting on the cruise, the announcement was made about the Vegas shows being postponed. And I've seen different stories, right? Zappos has said that, no, it was KISS that canceled it. There's been stories about, that it was light ticket sales. What was the reason behind the cancellation or the postponements?
Okay, when we did it, I said, we're going to go until November 1st and see if we can get the people in from Europe. We have one chance for people to come to Vegas to see us, because Gina and Paul will not tour after this year. Mm-hmm. They're going to be done. So when we couldn't get the people in, okay, and the restrictions were there, I said, we don't have to do it now. As we talked about it, let's do it later on down the road, when everybody gets a chance to see a different section of KISS. This isn't KISS, the stage show that we have today. It isn't KISS, 2.0 or any of that stuff. This will be a whole different vibe that people want to come, and we're going to do 12 shows.
Right.
Let people be able to come and see him for the last time in Vegas. You know, it was hard enough on the cruise. We had 174 people couldn't come.
Yep.
174 cabins, like 300 people.
Wow. Yep. Yep. I know you could feel the difference on the cruise. There was definitely less people. And I was wondering if that played into the whole Vegas decision. So do you know when the shows are going to be rescheduled for?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be in like August.
Okay. All right.
It'll be either August or October. We're checking it out now.
Okay. And then I know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know right after the cruise, there was going to be a show at West Palm Beach also that was postponed.
We moved that to 22 too.
Okay. Yeah. Now you said before that Paul and Jean next year will be the last year. So does that mean the final show will be at some point 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Any ideas yet for date and location, or not at this point?
At this point, listen, obviously it's got to be New York, somewhere in New If we're doing, after September, then there's only a few places to play.
So true.
You got to play the Garden, and so we're still kind of mapping it out, because we were supposed to end at Citi Field in July of this past July, and with the pandemic we couldn't do any of that, and because of the heavy touring commitments that everybody's put on in 22, because everybody's been off for 2 years, everybody wants to go out, so there's a lot, it's hard to get dates and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep. Now in the fall, you guys were able to get back on the road. I guess first off, how was it getting back on the road after, like you said, a year and a half of no shows?
Something I have to say that Gene and Paul, from my viewpoint, had the best time of almost any tour that we've done. They had with all the shit that went down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They played better than I think that they've ever played. Their attitudes on playing was just unbelievable. I mean, it was back to early Crew, early Bon Jovi, early, Scorps, when everybody wanted to go out there and kill every night, man.
Sure.
And these guys just had a really good time, and it was enjoyable to watch them.
Yep.
They played well. They had a great time on a cruise. They played everything. I almost had to drag them off the stage on the sail away.
Mm-hmm. Right.
An hour and a half. It was crazy.
So during that time at all, we all know that Paul and Jean both got COVID. Was there ever any talk? And we know sadly Fran passed away, who was Paul's tech and did the intro every night. Was there ever any talk of pulling the tour off the road, or did you guys feel like you had enough safety precautions in place that once they recovered, you're okay?
We were pulling it off the road, but then we got some help from Canada, from a company called Endine, and we started using their Stairways product, and it was, I think, it's so hard because you can't stop this shit. We have protocols out the ass, but when the real protocol is wash your hands, wear a mask, and stay away from people. Okay, you can't do that with 100 people on the road traveling every day. Yep. They go into the restrooms, they go into the restaurants, they go into the bars, they go in. Everybody's moving, going into truck stops, and you just can't do it. Sure. It's just impossible. And I haven't heard of a tour yet that hasn't been hit with it.
Right. No, I think that's a very good point. And, even Paul said on the cruise, I think something along the lines of, you can't help if people are faking their vaccination cards. You can't help if people are out drinking at night or whatever. You can't babysit people, right? You could only put guidelines in, and then it's up to them to follow the guidelines.
You try to be responsible for people that are irresponsible.
Yep.
That's the hard part for some of them. A lot of our crew were genuine down. Most of them were genuine down, working, wanting to go. I couldn't believe it, because I thought, wow, what an opportunity to go to work. That I was the one. We did the only rock show in 20. We did New Year's Eve in Dubai.
Yep.
we did a huge monster show in Dubai. It was fabulous.
Absolutely.
And we wanted to show people you could go out and tour, be responsible, get tested, do your things, just be responsible. On one-offs is easier than when you're traveling every day.
Of course. That
When you
makes
travel
sense.
every day, just all those things creep into what you're doing.
Without a doubt. Now, what happened with David Lee Roth? I know obviously he was originally planning to open and
It was just a year and a half later.
okay.
He had commitments that he had to do, and we just said, we get it. You got stuff that you have to do. We talked about it 8 months ago.
Hmm.
And I said, listen, don't worry about it, David. If you got things that you have to do, that you want to do, this has been a year and a half later, don't worry about it. And he said, thanks. We really, really enjoyed having David out. David, there's so much, it's, press drives me crazy because
Yep.
they sensationalize every fucking thing you say or
Of
do.
course. Yep.
And they take things out of context to make it more sensational than what it is. And in no way did Gene or anybody would say anything against David Lee Roth. Actually, if you ask Paul Stanley or Gene Simmons, in the 70s and 80s, the best front guy in the entire world was David Lee Roth. By far, hands down,
Yep.
blew everybody away.
Yep.
There wasn't anybody that didn't look up to David Lee Roth and go, holy fuck.
Right. Agreed.
There wasn't anybody. Robert, anybody, I don't care who it was. That guy was he was the shit. So, we have all the respect in the world. And I loved listening to all the Van Halen stuff.
Yes.
I really did. I had a good time with it.
Yep. And since that time, he's actually announced that he's doing a couple of Vegas shows, and he claims they're going to be his final shows. So, who knows what's going on in his mind? We're all getting a little older, right? None of us are any younger. So that's his prerogative. I guess if he doesn't want to keep touring.
We have a thing called QTR.
Quality time remaining.
Quality time remaining.
Yep.
You heard?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's, at some point you have to look and say, what have I got to do? And, do I want my grandchildren to say, well, I really didn't know him, because he was out with rock stars every night and I didn't really see him. It's Christmas, he sent me shit.
Right.
Or do you want to be there and your family and your friends and your stuff? And so that's why everybody's looking at me. We're 70 years old,
Right. Yeah.
And that's old, but we don't want to be old and go, oh my God, now we can't do it. We can't get out there. I mean, you put 60 pounds of shit on and go out there for 2 hours and play. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It definitely is. I get tired just being at the show. I can't imagine being on the stage. So, it must have been painful, I'm thinking, for you guys for that Rolling Stone article to break with all of the different safety precautions you were putting in. And like I said, on the cruise, I felt enormously safe, but it had to be a little painful for you guys to read that article.
Well, listen, it's painful when it's about you. Okay. And so we see these articles every day. The Inquirer, 300-pound nun impregnates herself. And then you read the story and it has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Just these are headlines to make you want to subscribe and to buy stuff, which is sad. It's not journalism anymore. There's no journalism. This is all rags. This is all tear everybody down. And nobody wants to hear the truth.
Yep.
And nobody cares about the truth. They just care about if it's bad, that's better. And I don't know where this mentality came from, but it's been here for some time and it's not going away.
Yep. No, that's true. Very sad. Now, you mentioned before the Dubai event, right? The New Year's Eve. Were you guys happy with how that turned out? Obviously, it's a little bit different. You're not playing to a huge crowd, but were you happy with it?
The show itself, okay, Dan Cattell, he did an amazing job. He's a great director. He did an extremely good job in putting that show together. He shot it perfect. It's beautiful. It's one of the best looking shows I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So he did a great job. I was very happy with how it turned out.
Excellent. Now, do you know anything about, we know that there was a package for like $1,000 where people get merchandise. Do you know anything about that?
Yes.
Okay.
He was a great producer of the shows, and it looked tremendous. It looked. The backside of it, the way it was distributed and everything else, is not that good.
Right.
So we're working on trying to help everybody out and get them what they did. Some of the things we contractually can't give them. Some of the audio stuff that Dan thought he could give, he couldn't.
Okay.
And but we're working that out, and everybody will be happy at the end of the day. Maybe a little pissed off it took a long time, but we'll make sure everybody's happy.
Okay, well, that's good news. Now, I know also next week, the Destroyer 45 is coming out, right? So that's exciting for fans. It looks like a tremendous package. I believe you guys are working on.
I think it's the best package we ever did. Universal did a phenomenal job.
Yep.
Andrew Daw and his team at Universal did a spectacular job.
Excellent. No, I mean, it looks amazing. There's all different formats, whether you want the deluxe version.
I'm actually getting one.
Oh, you really?
I'll actually have it. So that's yeah.
That is cool. So, I mean, look, it looks amazing, but of course, as soon as Kiss fans start getting in their hands, the next question is, what's next? And there's rumors that there's other packages. Is that true?
With Kiss, there's always shit for you to buy.
Of course.
People from getting a memento from Kiss, you know. So we have 33 different albums and cycles and things, but one of the things you want to do is you just don't want to throw shit out there. You want to make it really special. And I think this Destroyer, this 45 years of Destroyer is absolutely the footprint, the model of what's to come.
That's awesome. Any insights to maybe the next album that you guys would be thinking of doing for that?
No, I'm going to let you wait.
I figured you would say that, but I have to ask, right? Oh man. So, or also earlier this year, you guys did the Off the Soundboard, which I thought was amazing. The Japan show. Any plans to do more of those?
Yes. There's, you know, the whole thing is we want people to be engaged with Kiss from all fronts, from all ears. You know, one thing about Kiss, when you look at our audience is like Cracker Barrel. Okay? There's 4 generations of people that come to eat here every day. Okay, and so we and the generations that come here, okay, from 6 to 60, you know, you want to be able to cover all of it, yep. You know, and to keep them interested in history and the future of Kiss.
Sure.
So yeah, we're not one of these guys that just lets the brand die.
Right. No, there's no doubt you're not going to let that happen. Now, like you said, you've been there since 95, 96 time period. And Kiss fans know, we've heard Gene and Paul say it, that pretty much every show has been recorded, even on video since that time. Is there any plans to ever release any of that type of stuff?
Yes, there is. We don't know when. Okay. But the best thing is we have it.
Okay. So if I was to say to you, like Cincinnati 96, I just randomly picked in it, you know exactly where it is. You can find it right away.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right. So we'll see, I guess, some kind of videos in the future, it sounds like.
We have video from years. We have audio from all years. So we have a lot of different, you know, we have a lot of formats that we can do. And, you know, I don't know, there may be 10 Cincinnati shows you can see.
Right, of course. Right. Yeah.
You'll be able to watch all 10 Cincinnati shows, you know, or Detroit's or Chicago's or Bozeman. Or one thing about Kiss, we go out, we play. I've always said to everybody in all my bands, we're not the red carpet band that you have to come to LA or New York or Chicago to see, okay, and go to a stadium and get a shitty seat and everything else. We go to your town, and if you got a fucking building in your town, we'll come there and play.
So true.
Yeah, we played the milepost #1 on the Alaskan Highway.
Amazing. Yeah.
And we play everywhere because that's what Gene and Paul wanted to do. They go, let's take this on the road and play to everybody, and that's what we do.
So do you think there'll be like a, for America, like a Lost Cities type tour still, or?
We don't know. It's not much. It's going to be about 25 shows in the States.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And because we have South America, Australia, we have Japan coming again. We may have a Southeast Asia tour.
Yep.
So it's all, it's a big world when everybody wants to see at the end.
It is. And I know the Australian fans have been very anxious because those shows were postponed a couple of times. And I believe, if I remember right, I think those shows are now scheduled for March. So I know the Australian fans are really excited to see Kiss.
Well, we just 2 weeks ago we canceled Perth,
Okay.
and we were moving Perth to another town in Australia because the Western Province wouldn't allow anybody in the Western Province. And then last week they went, yeah, no, you can come.
Yep.
So now we reschedule it back.
Right. So the A&E documentary was a few months ago, which was a huge success. I think a lot of fans loved it.
I know I did.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great documentary. Any plans to release that officially?
I think we will. We want everybody to see. We want to play it on different things. It should be. It'll be on Netflix, and it'll be on different things you'll be able to watch too. And so I think it's a really, really well done. For the first time, it was more of a, how do you say it? The documentary wasn't just WWE.
Yeah.
It wasn't just it just wasn't the SmackDown.
Yeah.
It was truly open the kimono and let you see behind the scenes of what the guys really were feeling and how they're feeling, which they never did before.
Yep.
So it was very interesting to me to be able to watch that process.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was balanced. People always will point out the criticisms of Ace and Peter, but I thought Gene was even tough on himself. And the fans loved that there was new footage in there from the 70s that we had never seen before. So I thought it was a great blend. I'm hoping there's like a deluxe edition of it because I just thought it was that good.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. It was that good, and we're very happy to be part of it.
Awesome. What about the biopic? Shout out loud. Anything new going on with that?
No, we're sitting there. We have a director. We have a great team of people to put it together. We haven't started. We have budgets. We have everybody but a distributor, and so we have some people that we're talking to in negotiations, and maybe that's why I've never been in the music or movie business. It's taken 3 years to get to this point.
Right.
Oh, it'll be another 2 years if they say, okay, let's go do it.
Right.
Well, that's done. So it's like, I don't have enough time for that.
Understandable. Now, one of the things I was thinking about as I'm thinking about you and I chatting today is I go through my life of listening to all music in the 80s, 90s, and you stand out as like the rock manager. You're the only rock manager that comes to mind when I think 80s and beyond, to be honest with you. So when's the book or the documentary about you coming out, Doc?
Something, I'm been writing a book for about 3 years. And I always say, I'll put the book out when I can figure out why I wrote this book.
Well, you've got to have a bunch of great stories to tell.
But yeah, and I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. It's just stories. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And because I hate self-help books, you can be whatever you want to be. Books, you know what I mean?
We won't tell Paul that.
Well, the whole thing is you can, but everybody knows that, right. And you can certainly make some headway in the sense of showing people that, yeah, you take chances, but whether it was Paul or me or you or anybody, you just do what you do. And sometimes it happens and it surprises you. If you're one of those people that go out on the limb and take chances that are not even calculated chances, they're just big moves, then you will be rewarded and you'll be slapped in the face over it.
Right. Yep.
And when you learn that, you know, uh, you know, if you're not failing, you're not trying.
Very true.
You're going to have to fail in order to win. And so you learn by all these things. But you know, you really, again, the book, and you know, I have people talking about doing an animated show with me and stuff like that, about managing chaos and all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. And we have some good writers and all that stuff. And it's flattering, you know what I mean? I don't know how that works for other people. I've never been the guy, I've always been the guy behind the scenes. I've never been the guy in front. You know, I've always let the bands do what they do. And I just happen to have done it with so many big artists that, and I'm out on the road with everybody. And so I'm physically there. So people see me over the years. And so I guess more people would probably know me than most managers. Or
yeah, and I think you're being a little modest here, which I would expect, right? But you know, whether it's Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, you worked with Guns N' Roses a little bit, Skid Row, Night Ranger, Hootie and the Blowfish. I mean, I could go on, right, with all the different artists that you've worked with. I mean, I think your resume speaks for itself, and I personally think a book would be a great read.
Well, you know, that's what I want. Maybe that's all I want, is that it's a great read.
Yep. Yep. Now, how did you think that you were portrayed in the movie The Dirt, right? Because they had you in that movie a little bit. Did you see the movie? And what did you, I mean, they said they took liberties with you, right?
I saw it, and David is a great actor and a really, really good guy. I never met the guy, never talked to him. They asked me if they sent me the script, and I read it, and I said, I read my part of it, because listen, everybody has their own way of remembering things.
Sure.
And I remembered it a lot differently than but on specific things. But the overall attack of the 80s, which that's what it was,
sure.
Was pretty spot on. I mean, it was pretty, I mean, not that each one of those things were accurate, but each one of the accountings. But, you know, you see anybody under 40 years old today never got to see the 80s.
True. Very true.
So they never saw the shit that was in this that happened every day.
Right.
This was every day. This wasn't just LA. This wasn't Sunset Strip. The Sunset Strip lived everywhere in the world.
Yes.
It was insane.
And a totally different time.
So when you watch that movie today, you get a little skittish, because you go, wow, this is not the time to be watching something like this.
Right.
It's so out there. You know, it's like watching Sam Kinison.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
I can't say that, or I can't talk like that.
Sure.
And that's what The Dirt was. But it really showed kids that, wow, it was fun, and the freedom that we had, and everything else in the 80s. Because that was the end of freedom, was 95. That was the end of freedom. The internet just took over. And now, I mean, shit, when I grew up, my parents said, I was south side of Chicago now, I wasn't in Wyoming or something.
Okay.
I was south side of Chicago. My parents would say, be home before dark. When the street lights go on, you're home. And then we'd go out and play.
Right. Yeah.
9 years old, I'd go out and walked over to my friend's house, go see him. They had no idea where I was till I came home at 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
Sure.
That was it. You could, if you did that now, they put you in prison.
Right. So
childhood.
That's great. Now, did you ever think, thinking back to you as a kid at that age, could you ever imagine being in the position you are now, having managed so many of these successful bands?
You know something? People say that to me, ask me that question, and I no, I mean, I wouldn't have thought that I would have been in that position with the people that I with. would I have thought that I would have been somewhat successful?
Sure.
I was, yeah,
Right.
but at what? I don't know.
That makes
But
sense.
it would have been, I think it would have been something.
Right, right. No, that makes sense to me. Now, to me, looking at your artist rosters, I have to imagine managing Motley Crue in the 80s had to be a challenge for you, right? With all the stuff that, like you just said, that was going on in the movie. Could you remember maybe like the craziest thing you had to do to make sure that they got on stage on time for a particular concert?
You know, something there's a million stories of that. I mean, it was almost a daily thing.
Yep.
I think the probably the hardest one was when we did the Monsters of Rock
Okay.
with Van Halen and AC/DC, 1984, and we had a dinner party with everybody. 1,500 people came, and each band had its own table. It was Motley and Van Halen and AC/DC, and Warner Brothers put on this huge thing in Sweden, dinner with all the press that flew in from everywhere. And my guys decided to bite Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
So, and it's a long story, but they ended up biting Eddie and getting in a fight and a fist fight and a brawl in this. And we got thrown off the tour, and it was just a fucking nightmare. But we did get out and get on the stage the next day. It was very difficult, but we did it.
Oh God, that sounds like fun to me, but from the outside looking in, I'm sure at that moment that was not fun for you. But I've heard a story. I don't know if this is true. That at one point you had to put them like in like a trail, a Motley Crue is in a trail, and lift them by a crane. So
that's what they wanted to do.
That's what they wanted to do.
I didn't want to get into the whole story because it's so long, but
okay, I'm sorry.
Paul Monk, who was the manager of Van Halen, okay, and then AC/DC with Albert Handler and all that stuff, they were so pissed that they tried to throw us off, but they couldn't because Motley was so popular. And Thomas Johansson was a promoter, and so I said, "Well, you got to talk to Thomas because there's no way he's going to let us go off this tour." Then they came back and said, "You get there, you'll be in your trailer. They're going to pick the trailer up with the crane. When it's time for you to play, they'll lower it. You get on the stage, you play, you get off, get in the vans, and you leave." So now I haven't told the guys any of this.
Oh no.
There's just been a fight thrown out of the hotel. It was just crazy. So, when I got them up in the morning after we had to get thrown out of the hotel that night and moved to another hotel, I get up and Tommy goes, "Dude, wasn't that fucking amazing last night?" I go, "What? You fighting with David Lee Roth?" "Dude, fuck, man, I love that guy." I go, "Well, you guys were fist fighting." "Oh, dude, fucking around, man. We're having a ball. We're having a ball. You guys were fighting." I said, "Okay, we got to get ready to go to the show." So as we took off, I didn't say anything. And when we got there, I looked, and there's a crane sitting there next to the stage. And I went, "Uh-oh, go to the production office." I went there and I said, "If you move this, we're gone." But then I didn't tell the guys this. So we get there. It's still hooked up. They don't pay attention to it. They get in there and go. I said, "Listen, right after the show, I want you to get in it right from stage. We're going to get in the vans. And we're going to get the fuck out of there." They go, "We want to watch Van Halen. We want to watch AC/DC." I go, "Not tonight. Let's not do it." Dude, come on. That's what it does.
Right.
I got him out of
Oh man, that is great. So I mean, you've managed a lot of strong personalities, right? Whether it's Slash, Axl, Kiss, Sebastian, but who's probably been easier for you to work with than maybe you expected?
Well, I mean, Darius Rucker is one of the best guys in the world. Darius, I love Darius. Very talented, knows who he is. He's a great guy, and very talented, and he knows what we do.
Sure.
He was John Bon Jovi was right there, man. He he sat there and watched and learned and honed his craft. And and Vince and Tommy and all of them, they did the same thing, man. And it's Klaus. That it's as you look back, I mean, back to James Brown and Isaac Hayes and Mink DeVille, who was fucking awesome to work with, and stuff like that. It was just, I mean, those guys. I mean, like James, he knows what managers do. That's the difference. When you have people that know what a manager is supposed to do, they can work.
Right.
When they have the preconceived notion that, well, you're supposed to go get my girl this and go get my, that's not what management does. That's what some assistant does for you, but that is what we do.
Right.
And so I have to say that most everybody I've only had a couple of people that were not good people, that were just not good people. And as Tom Wally once said to me, when the cat shit gets bigger than the cat, get rid of the cat.
That's great saying. I never heard that before.
Yeah. And so that was, so that's what I did every time I got a bad egg.
That makes sense. So I would have thought that perhaps having a personality like a Gene Simmons or a John Bon Jovi, who's very business-minded, might make your job more difficult, but it sounds like it's actually the opposite, that, having an artist who is business-minded actually helps make your job a little easier.
Yeah, it does, because they understand, it's not about why aren't I bigger? Both of them would scratch their head and go, I can't believe we're at where we're at. Sure. Because I always kept them bigger than what they were. Yep. And so all great people to work with. I mean, really, really tremendous people to work with. Richie and Dave and Al and Tico, and Matthias and Klaus and just all the guys, and Snake and Rachel. I hate to say that about Snake, but Snake and Rachel and Sebastian even at the time. He was a handful once he got going, but other than
and
that,
obviously he has a passport problem.
He has a passport problem. But it's I believe they have a lot of respect for me, and I have a lot of respect for them.
Oh, I'm quite sure that they do. So going back to the Kiss thing, like we said, the tour is going to continue in 2022. It sounds like limited dates in North America. There'll be some Europe shows. There's been a lot of talk about, whether it's Bruce or Ace or Peter Criss, or at one point even Vinnie Vincent maybe being invited. Has there been any formal official invites to ex-members of Kiss to join at any point?
We've invited people to be part of documentaries, to be part of different things. Some has declined, and some of them came out and did it.
Yep.
So it's up to the individual. Listen, I don't believe that Kiss would have happened without the four guys.
Yep.
Okay. I just don't. Even though Bill Aucoin was such an amazing marketing guy at that time, and Sean Delaney the same way.
Yep.
But there was no way that they could have continued on with him. It couldn't have happened with them. Yep. It just ran out of gas.
Agreed.
And but there was that time. I mean, what is it? 1 out of every 3 marriages are in divorce. It might be more now.
I think it's more now, actually. Yep. That's
probably more now.
Yep.
Then how do you think that somebody's supposed to stay together? 4 people supposed to stay together in a band for 50 years?
Right. No, look, I agree with you 100%. And I think what Tommy and Eric have brought to the band has been amazing, and it's put new blood in there. And
it allows Gene and Paul to do what they do.
Yes.
And they're entertainers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And and Gene, he pretends that he's the biggest business guy in the world, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, he's a really, really good bass player.
I agree.
He's a very underrated, because he won't let anybody tell him that he's a great bass player.
Agreed.
But he plays really good parts. interesting parts. He's solid. His voice is solid. You know, Paul gets to do his shtick. He is the ringmaster, and he gets to do it. And Tommy and Eric are the backbone, and they play. You heard it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
You know who I was blown away by on this cruise, and I managed them?
Who's that?
Night Ranger.
I'll say this to you, Doc. I wish they were on every Kiss cruise. They are hands down to me one of the best live bands ever.
They played some shit. We Paul and I watched three sets of them.
Okay.
And we're like, and you know, I managed them, you know, with and you know, during different times.
Sure.
But it seems like now they were as tight as could be, and they played some shit. It was great.
I agree. Between them and Bruce Kulick and his band,
Bruce was great.
He's great every year, every single year. You know, I'm so glad you guys have added him. So, you know, at this point, you've been managing Kiss 25, 26, coming up maybe even on 27 years. Why do you think you've been able to last with them that long?
One reason. I made them an awful lot of money and continue to make when I stopped making them money, they fire me.
That's a great point. You know, I'm also wondering, I just thought of something. I don't know if you know anything about this. There's a Kiss book, unofficial book that was coming out called Magic. And there's been a lot of stories about the Kiss putting a cease and desist on that. Have you heard do you know anything about that?
I heard something about it. I don't get involved with that much. That's Bill Randolph. And then one thing that we do, like the Beatles do, is we spend an awful lot of time protecting the brand, stopping people from doing. Even mini Kiss, which is really great. We license them and give them. We sell them a license for $1.
Okay.
So that they have a license to do it. We like Kiss tribute bands, and we like stuff being done about Kiss, but we want it to be sanctioned and not just have everybody come up and do shit without us. And hopefully we get better material out there for people too. That's more spot on about Kiss than somebody just writing some shit. You know, we do it every day. There's car companies in South America that use our makeup and commercials and songs that we never get paid on. We go after all that stuff because that's our business. You know, that's our job. It's the same thing as if you were to do, you know, Quicksilver or any of those, any brand or Nike, and somebody was putting out swatches on their stuff, they'd shut them down.
Sure.
And so,
so then what would you say is more important, band or brand? Right? You brought up that word brand. So what's more important to you, band or brand?
Well, to me, it's always the brand, because the band will be there. Okay. But a brand's very important for the life of that could go on for however long. Okay. And if you do it the right way, I believe that you can continue on. Not every band is a brand. Okay. But there's certain things that are brands, and you know, Kiss is a brand. It's just, you know, we have 2,700 products around the world, and we have, you know, and you go to any country, they may not know a song, okay? But if you show them the makeup, they go Kiss. You know, and it doesn't have to say Kiss. They know Kiss. It's almost like you almost have to be dead to not know Kiss. You're in a coma.
So true.
That you wouldn't know the brand. You might not like it. You might not want to listen to anything, or like any of the songs, but you certainly know the brand.
Without a doubt. Well, Doc, I really appreciate your time today. This has been, you know, great for me. I really appreciate what you've done for Kiss, and honestly, a lot of the bands that I grew up loving. Anything else you want Kiss fans or music fans to know about as we enter into a new year coming up in a couple of weeks?
Have fun. Okay, get out there and go see live music.
Yes.
Be careful. Okay, and enjoy life. That's all you can do.
Absolutely. And, I'm just going to pass to you and to everybody in the band. My condolences. Obviously, Paul's father passed away.
101.
Amazing, right?
101. And 2 weeks ago, he was as sharp as a tack.
That's great.
And he was a great guy. And he was so nice to me always, and a very, very pleasant guy. And the best part is that Paul and him got to work all their stuff out over the years, and at the end just loved each other, and that was the best part of the whole thing.
Agreed, 100%. Well, again, thank you, Doc, very much. We'll certainly be looking for Kiss on the road next year, and Kiss Cruise 11 next fall as well. So thank you very much, Doc.
You got it, Mike.
Take it easy. All righty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All righty, there you have it. I'd like to thank Doc for spending time with me talking all about Kiss's plans, both for touring and releasing new material. That was a lot of great information. Thanks a lot, Doc. I also like hearing some of the stories about managing Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, and some of the bands you managed during the 80s and 90s. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.